Speech off.
Hello there. This is your friend and host Prasanna Kumar Pincha extending a very warm and cordial welcome to all and sundry. Today we have a very interesting topic at hand, but before we get to the substantive part of the topic, I think just a few words about Corona. Uh, at the time of recording of this video, from now on, I think it's about 3-4 hours when it will be 9 p.m. on the 5th of April, when all of us, all Indians, will light a lamp or a candle or a flashlight of a mobile, etc., and stand on the balcony or at the door of our houses, switch off all our lights, and then light the lamp, the candle, the flashlight of the mobile, and express our support and solidarity and our resolve to fight the menace of corona pandemic. Another good news is that, and of course, yes, we'll also think of Ma Bharati and send out favorable vibrations into the cosmic atmosphere so that we are able to succeed in our battle with corona. Another very positive development was that the Government of India Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities have come up with comprehensive disability inclusive guidelines on 26th of March. And I'm happy to be able to say that I had a small role to play in that, because on 24th evening after the Prime Minister's address to the nation, 25th morning, I got in touch with the Secretary of the concerned Department of Government of India, Madam Shakuntala Gemlin, and conveyed to her that I had certain emergent suggestions to make. As a result, I was contacted by some high officials of the department. They took my inputs, and based on my inputs, on the 26th, 2-3 officials sat down, finalized the guidelines, sought the necessary clearances from various authorities which they are required to seek, and then ensured that by the evening of 26th, those guidelines were notified. You will be glad to know that this happened in a very short span of time. These guidelines are actually a letter, contain a letter to the Chief Secretary, all the Chief Secretaries of all the states and union territories, together with a set of guidelines, requesting the Chief Secretaries to designate all state commissioners for persons with disabilities as nodal officers, who in turn can designate the disability-related district officers as the district-level nodal officers. And the State Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities is supposed to work in tandem with the State Disaster Management Authority. These guidelines were made invoking Section 8 of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, which is on protection and safety. These guidelines do talk about ensuring availability of essential supplies to persons with disabilities, availability of services of caregivers and helpers, domestic help, availability of medical services, and also ensuring that the guidelines are made available in accessible format. I know there will be a lot of problems in the implementation in the first place, but at least we have something, and persons with disabilities now have a powerful tool in their hands based on which they can bring pressure to bear upon the respective governments. I'm sure that there will be pitfalls or shortcomings in these guidelines, but at least it's better to have some guidelines rather than not have any. Now let's come to today's topic. The topic which I have taken up for brief discussion today is as sensitive as it is important. And it is a topic which has been discussed, though, from time to time in limited circles, but it has not been discussed as much as it ought to have been discussed on a large scale. And this explains why I felt that I should. And the topic is how some people exploit the blind and their blindness. Now, this is a very interesting topic in the sense that this is a very relevant topic, I should say. And I must begin by saying that knowingly or unknowingly, some people end up exploiting the blind and their blindness. I must clarify that I do believe in the basic goodness of men, and I usually do not doubt the bona fides of any person. Sometimes it so happens that wittingly or unwittingly, people end up doing something very stupid, something which hurts the other persons, in our case, the blind. Now, I will cite certain examples. Many of them are based on my own first-hand experience, and some based on the experiences of some of our blind friends whose names I am not going to reveal. Now, it's very, as I said, let me begin, because I do believe that nothing under the sun is more authentic, is more original than that which is the byproduct of your own intense and intimate personal experience. So there we go. You see, I must say that there's this, something happened about 40 years back or so. 40 years back, when I must have been some 26, 27 years of age. And during those days, I used to live in Assam. And one day it so happened that I happened to step into the house of my cousin, and let me disguise his name, let me give a fictitious name, let us call him Cousin X. When I went in, I found that Cousin X was eating, but I could sense that right in front of him, another man, I didn't know who it was also sitting and eating. That's the sense I got. Later it turned out that he was Cousin Y, who lived just in a house which was in front of the house of Cousin X. Now, when I went, I could feel that through some gesture, Cousin Y conveyed something to Cousin X. Now, if you ask me how how I came to know about it, I being blind, that something was conveyed through some gesture by Cousin Y to Cousin X, I really cannot explain it to you. All I can say is that I got that feeling that something passed from this side to the other side. And I could imagine that probably Cousin Y wanted Cousin X not to reveal Cousin Y's presence to me. And so it happened. So the conversation with Cousin X progressed, and in a short while, Cousin X mentioned to me Cousin Y and said that this Cousin Y of ours is not a good guy at all. Now it struck me. I felt that perhaps it was Cousin Y who was sitting quietly right in front of Cousin X. And then though I didn't really have a very good opinion of that man, not a very bad opinion either, but I then suddenly realized that it was perhaps Cousin Y. So I said to Cousin X, well, Bhai Sahab, I really do not know why you think so unkindly of Cousin Y. He is such a wonderful guy. He is a human being of a very high order. The moment I said this, in fact, I exaggerated. And the moment I said this, Cousin Y, out of sheer joy, burst out in laughter. And he said, oh, ha, ha, ha. I said, oh my God, oh, are you here? If I only knew you were here, I wouldn't have showered this compliment on you. I just cracked a joke. I too took advantage of the situation. But immediately, inside of me, I was feeling very uncomfortable, because imagine what would have happened if in good faith I had revealed to Cousin X my actual feelings about Cousin Y, not knowing that Cousin Y was there. It would have been disastrous. So, this is fear. And should anybody do this, just because I happen to be blind, you take an undue advantage of it and exploit my blindness, this is not done. Another thing which actually I experienced was when I was young. And these days, of course, those experiences have reduced, if not altogether gone away, is that when somebody would meet me, he would put his hand into my hands and make gestures to some third person saying, asking that third person to tell me to identify this man. Now, apparently you will see this is an innocent kind of a thing, but it is actually not, because if I identify him correctly, he'll be happy. If I fail to identify, he'll be disappointed. But that's not as important. What is more important is the fact that they don't think what the blind person would think about it. I feel that I felt like being an exhibit, as if I was an object of exhibition, that some fun was being made at the expense of my disability. I felt very bad about it, and these things, do keep happening, I'm sure, with many other blind people. And when I was young, I remember once someone called me, "Oh, Surdas." Surdas was a blind poet. He was born about 500 years back or so. He was a very famous poet. And they made Surdas synonymous with every blind person. So the moment he said, "Oh, Surdas," I retorted back saying, "Hello, Tulsidas." He said, "But I am not Tulsidas." I said, "But I am not Surdas either." So he said, "But you are blind." I said, "So what? Surdas is the name of my name is Prasanna Kumar Pincha. I do not live on borrowed identity. I have my own identity. So why thrust upon me someone else's identity?" Another similar thing, so a lot of things of that nature, that kind, keep happening, which are very disturbing, and which I would give you another example. I remember one young blind guy telling me some years back. He said, "Sir, once I was traveling in a train with my parents, and by chance, my father bumped into one of his old acquaintances." Now he said, "Sir, we are actually three brothers. We don't have a sister. We are three brothers." So that acquaintance of my father met him after many years. So he just asked how many children my father had. And my father said, "Two." Suddenly, sir, he said, it struck me. Was he excluding me? Was he not even considering me as a member, as a part of his family, as a part of his children? I felt so bad. When I heard this from that boy, tears welled up in my eyes. I mean, what kind of people are we? Another incident, let me tell you, and that's my own experience. And that happened in New York when I was interacting with a celebrity, a very famous actor and a very good human being of a very high order. So in the course of the conversation, I just said, "Well, I saw one of your films and I really loved it." And he said, wait, you said you saw? I said, "Yes." "But you are blind?" I said, "Look, you can see by touching. Sometimes you can see by hearing. And tell me one thing, how would it hear, how would it sound if I say that I heard one of your movies? So what difference does it make if I have, and heavens shouldn't fall if I said I saw one of your movies." But the fact of the matter is that this conveys an embedded feeling, an embedded misconception. I got a feeling that my disability was given precedence over my personality and over my individuality, which is very painful, which is not acceptable. One more example, and I will probably conclude this, and that example actually relates to some of our friends, both men and women, blind men and women who stay in hostel, who are working men and women, and some are studying in universities. So they obviously share rooms with their sighted friends. And these blind men and women are as independent as anyone else. They do everything on their own, including their mobility, including their, going to the dining hall, eating, washing their own clothes, taking care of their own health and hygiene, everything. But the roommates sometimes, many of them are very good, but some of them again would behave as if the blind roommate is not an adult, and as if that person is his guardian. And then they would also keep on harping, keep on telling others, oh, I helped him this much, I helped. Whereas the fact of the matter is that these blind friends, both men and women, also help their sighted roommates. Sometimes they bring food for them from the dining hall. Sometimes they even lend them money, and it becomes difficult for them to ask back the money which they have lent. I mean, but they never harp on what they have done. So this is actually this is what is actually, I believe that this is, at least morally, ethically, this is criminal exploitation, and this should not happen. I'm sure our sighted friends will listen to it with objectivity and dispassion, and will probably rethink, reconsider, give up the patronizing and condescending attitude. So I think today it's time that we wind up, and just do wait till I come back to you with another video on another topic. And yes, keep yourself well protected and safe. Bye for now.
Speech on. Stop.